China's electric vehicle technology is reshaping transportation across Africa, and Kenya is now one of the continent's most important testing grounds. While major Chinese EV brands have focused on selling electric cars to everyday consumers, a new entrant is taking a different approach by building an ecosystem designed specifically for ride-hailing drivers. In this episode, we examine how the US-based startup Bingo is bringing its E2 electric vehicle to Kenya, with engineering, design, manufacturing and supply chain operations based in China. We'll also discuss how Bingo plans to compete with established Chinese EV brands already operating in Kenya, what role Chinese technology plays in the E2, and why the company believes ride-hailing, not private ownership, could become one of the biggest drivers of electric vehicle adoption across Africa. And to help us understand all this, today we are joined from Nairobi by Christian Scheder, co-founder of Bingo. Hello and welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jenga.
Christian?
Pleasure. Thank you for having me on the show.
It's wonderful to have you. Briefly tell us about your journey, in the tech space until today, that you're now focusing on African countries and you have landed in Kenya because you have to see the Bingo work.
Right. So I've been a serial entrepreneur. I always had my own businesses. My focus has always been with an environmental slant, so resource efficiency. Working originally with resource efficiency for buildings, and then graduated to battery space. So I've been in the battery space for about 20 years. And about 19 years ago, met the CEO, Daniel Huang, my partner, co-founder, because I was producing the battery that was supporting his brand in the market. And so from battery, we went to mobility and started working on electrification and mobility about 10 years ago. So I have about 10 plus years in that, and we're taking what we've learned in China and delivering it here in emerging markets now, Nairobi.
I got this when we were having our conversation earlier, when you said you were in China supplying done in the US. In as much as that was like a decade ago, it's still very interesting in that we would expect it to be the other way around. An American is being supplied by a Chinese, or, From your experience in China, the Chinese have managed to shift their economy in under 2 decades. Can we do that here? You can focus on the EV space.
I think Africa has the culture to support that. I look at other spaces within Africa where they've leapfrogged, what other European countries or even US is doing, and gone to the next step.
Yeah.
And so we see it in the banking and digital payment system. Yeah. So yes, I do think that culturally you have resources and the drive to make it happen.
We have the resources and we have the people, because that is the biggest resource that any economy would need, right?
Yeah, that's definitely part of it. And you also have, it seems like the policy is shifting, and that's very important too.
All right.
So anytime we learned in China, because we grew there, we pioneered battery swapping as a service, part of the electrification of sit-down scooters. And we learned that we had to go into the markets ahead of time to really understand them to make it a successful venture. And so we looked at Kenya, we looked at Africa, and then Kenya specifically, and understood that the dynamics were shifting towards electrification, fuel costs going up, electrification happening on the two-wheel space, public policy tailwinds there as well. And there was also the marketplace. So ride-hail is becoming more and more popular, last mile delivery as well. Yeah. And that's exactly where our focus is.
Getting into the Bingo, we know that it is designed in the US, engineered in China, and now you're rolling it out here in Africa. And with the intensifying competition and all the geopolitics that we've been dealing with, Trump said, C said, or didn't say, and so when you look at this, what does it mean and what lessons does it offer to somebody who is looking at cross-border collaboration?
I think collaboration in any business is important, especially if you're looking to scale. If you're going to stay small in one city and have a slow rollout, maybe it's not as important. But we want to make this a success for all of Kenya and Nairobi.
Yeah.
And our expectations are in 2-3 years to be at 10,000 vehicles in the space.
Yeah.
So in order to do that, we can't do it by ourselves. So we have established offices here in Nairobi, and we're starting to build a team here. In the US, we're mostly focused, that's where our design and IP comes from. And China's the king of supply in terms of supply chain for EV space.
Yeah.
And so we have to work there. So it is a collaboration of not only from a business standpoint, but the countries working together.
Okay.
Now there's going to be, tariffs and taxes and issues and geopolitics involved, but we'll overcome that.
And this goes back to policy. If you look at the taxation regime in Kenya, it's very unpredictable. And I know that because you're in this space, then you're able to kind of propose some changes in this space. Is that something you're looking into? Because I know that many of those in the e-mobility space in Kenya are contributing a lot to the policy that is going to govern the EV space in Kenya.
Yes, for sure. And that's part of the market research. We start entrenching ourselves on all levels. I personally have talked to close to 500 drivers. And we talk to the potential partners in our ecosystem, but we're also working with the local government entities. We are definitely working closely to hopefully help push the drive and push the momentum forward.
Now coming back to the bingo, a lot of Chinese EVs are in Kenya, 100% Chinese tech, 100% Chinese built, and every other way. But for you, how much Chinese tech is in the bingo?
As I mentioned earlier, the IP and the design comes from our team in the US, we're the brainchild there. We use Chinese parts, so because of the supply chain, but the technology is twofold. One is the hardware and the other is software, because part of the ecosystem that we're building out relies on data, and the data comes from the software component. And so we write every line of code. It doesn't come from the battery manufacturer that we're working with from China, or the motor, or everything we write ourselves. So that's probably the most important component is the software, and that's 100% us. Okay. On the hardware side, yes, we work closely with the supply chain, but we've spent the money to tool every part that we need for the design of our EV.
Because you're targeting the entire ride-hailing ecosystem building, and you have mentioned data. I know what you have, or what you're looking at, is the stakeholders that you will work with, be it the insurers, be it the banks and whoever's. And this is something that has been needed in this space for a long time, because it's very hard and it's very expensive for a driver to just go into a showroom and say, I want to buy this car. So when you look at this data thing, how do you see it helping move drivers from just driving to say, I can own a vehicle built on the history that I have with bingo? We think that the data it's the currency that'll open doors for everyone involved, on partners, including the driver. And the whole ecosystem that we're building out is specifically designed for the driver to make more money and to succeed. Some of them have credit history, some of them don't. Some of it is marred with marks on their CRB. We can help that out, because the data that we're collecting is not personal data specific to the driver. It's more insights based on the data, the raw data we're collecting. Where are they driving? How many trips per day? It's more general data, how much money they're earning. So the bank can see, they're earning enough money and they're working 16 hours a day. And so they can maybe get a better rating for better financing. Insurance companies, will be providing data. So it can help them establish grounds to provide better insurance and maybe dynamic pricing based on good driver scores. We do have outward-facing cameras. So if there's an accident, the camera will pick up on it. So it'll show if you ran into a car, or if the car came across you, or if you're going through stoplights. So that's the kind of data. It's not personal. So we don't have the time and interest in that. It's to create
parameters that allows the driver, the insurance company, the bank, everyone to succeed, even Uber and Bolts, et cetera, the ride-hailing companies too.
Nice. And the reason I'm asking these questions is because we know that when it comes to insurance, as we know it now, we have a flat offering for everyone, whether you are a risky driver, whether you are a careful driver, whether you cause accidents every 2 weeks, or you have not caused an accident in 10 years. So that is why I was interested in the data aspect. And if that is going to help kind of reduce, the insurance premiums that you pay and make you bankable, and a good client, low risk for the bank, then that makes a lot of sense when it comes to data. But now let's shift to your business model, and you're targeting bingo at Africans in the diaspora. This is a very interesting approach. I've not had it. Why?
So it's interesting that you bring that up. What we're doing is we're bringing out an ecosystem, like I've mentioned a few times. And part of that is we're investigating different creative ways to provide financing for the drivers. Mm-hmm. That's the goal. Yeah. Some of them aren't financeable. Some of them are. And so what can we do to increase the availability of a new business, being a taxi driver, to the drivers and to different families. And so we're exploring that. One you're talking about is our model, what we call Airbnb on wheels. So there are people in the US and throughout the world that are buying Airbnb homes, but they never visit them. They buy it in Florida, they live in California, they've never seen it, but they have a property management group renting it out, they pay them a percentage, and it starts making them money. That's the idea behind what you brought up, where an investor, it could be in Kenya, that makes a good income, they don't have the opportunity to invest in real estate as much, or it's a bigger asset to purchase, and they could purchase a car, put it through our platform, and they're earning a return on investment, an ROI on that payment system by renting it or leasing it through our system to drivers. Nice. And we would manage all that. Nice. So and the return on investment is anywhere between 15 and 25% a year. So it's a pretty good system.
Makes a lot of sense. So it makes much more sense to invest in this Airbnb on wheels than, just real estate, because it's like double the earnings, if you look at the returns on investment.
And it's a smaller nut, Yeah. We're talking 1.8 million.
Mm-hmm. The diaspora that you're targeting, do they have to just be Africans, or it's anyone who wants to invest in this?
Anyone.
All right. So it's not just the diaspora, it can be anyone.
What we have found is they understand the culture, they understand what's happening here, and they also have an affinity to help Africans out. Okay. So some investors may not understand it or the need. So there's a climate angle, there's a social impact or social angle to this, and then there's a business angle.
If they can afford a bingo, they can afford a BYD, they can afford a Neo, they can afford whatever, But then, because for you, it's the ride-hailing ecosystem.
Correct.
Then that is where your focus is. Does it mean that then you have to offer something more than just it's Chinese tech, it's electric, it's bingo? What is your edge?
We have quite a few edges compared to some of the other, first the ICE vehicle that's out there, then to the new EVs. Most of the new EVs are pretty high priced. The BYD still is going to be 4, 5, 6 million, maybe 3 million plus. Ours is at 1.8 million. So we think it's one of the lowest priced for a new EV or new car. Yeah. Second, we work closely with the online taxi companies to design the performance around African roads, African drivers, and ride hail, what was important to ride hail. And a couple of things that jump out. One, the distance. Most small, compact cars that are chap-chap style, they have, in their EV, they have a distance of 200, 250 kilometers maximum. Ours is 440 kilometers. So the normal chap-chap driver drives about 200, 220 a day. So if they have to stop and recharge, it's downtime. They're not performing, they're not productive. Ours make sure they can go from early morning to late at night without having to recharge.
Okay. And you have the swappable batteries.
Correct. That's the other thing. We have the world's first dual battery system. So we've designed a system that has a built-in battery on the bottom, which is typical to an EV, that gives you the distance of 330 kilometers. And then, 310 kilometers. And then we have 4 swappable batteries that go under the rear seat that you can get at battery lockers or battery stations that we'll have across the city. And that gives it an additional 130 kilometers, so 440 collectively.
Because that was one of my biggest questions on how are they going to swap. So are you telling me that you will be using the bike swaps, or how is it going to work? Because you said 4 batteries under the seat.
Correct.
Yeah.
So yes, we will have similar to what the bike swaps are. Now every company, Spiro, Ampersand, Rome, they all have different battery styles.
Yeah.
So we've got to come up with a universal one. But we are introducing the first semi-solid state battery. And yes, it could be interoperable. In fact, we have a motorbike that takes that battery as well. So it could be interoperable, which is the best system that eventually should be out there.
All right. And this comes at a time when, that interoperability has been rolled out in Nairobi by some stakeholders. So you're right on time.
2 other things I wanted to talk about in terms of our key advantage. One is the operating system, which is what houses our data.
Yeah.
And that data is ultimately currency for all our partners. Very important. Or even, in fact, part of it is to educate the driver. Right now, they start the day, they don't know what they made by the end of the day. They really don't understand it, how much money they made or the expenses, everything. We can help educate them, and they can check. They'll have access to their own dashboard to see, oh, 1 more ride and I've broken even. So after that, I'm making money and bringing it home.
Okay.
So that's important. So the operating system is, we've adopted AI first principle. So the AI, meaning that you don't have to study the data. Our AI agent, which we call Maya, will do that for you. And you could talk to it like Siri or like Alexa or any of these Gemini, and it will provide you with the information you need, whether you're the operator, whether you're the bank, whether you're the insurer, or whether you're the driver. You get the information you need to be successful in that portion of it.
It's actually like a complete ecosystem whereby everything is plugging into the other thing, into the next, and kind of creating a complete loop.
Correct. Last point I want to make in terms of advantage is we've built a car purpose-built for ride hail, as we talked about, with the lowest cost of operation. Meaning that now every ride they give or take, they're making money. So if you have a big SUV, a Cadillac SUV, on the short rides, they're not going to accept them because they're not going to make money, especially if it's an ICE vehicle, right? So this car operates at an average of 3 to 4 cents a kilometer in terms of cost.
Oh, wow.
So even at a 1 kilometer ride, they're making money.
That's a deal. Christian, I know that you are working with different stakeholders, and these are insurers, banks, and other people who will be, or other players that will be in this space.
Correct.
That we are calling the ecosystem. When it comes to banking, we know that many of the riders cannot get credit. So why did you think of going this way?
The only way this can succeed is for the driver to make more money. But every partner within the ecosystem has to be making money. Otherwise, it's going to fall apart. So we're working with banks, and we're meeting with different insurance companies. We're meeting with different energy network partners to understand what they need. That's part of our 1-year-long market research project before we launch in the market, to understand the specifics and customizing our offering to that market. And so we know they can win, and then especially if we provide them with the data they need.
Okay, so the data is the king in this space. So a risky driver will be there, they will see.
The drivers will realize that the data is important to them, because they can get better financial rates, better insurance rates, they can make more money. So it'll, even though it's sometimes maybe scary for them that the data is coming from them, they'll realize it can really benefit them. If they have a good intention to work and make money and own a fleet of 10 cars themselves, they can do that really easily.
They can. So, and I needed to come to that ownership aspect because we have spoken about battery, which is the most expensive component of an electric vehicle, right?
Yep.
And because your approach is very different. It's leasing and renting for whoever. Even myself, if I have the 1.8 million, I can get that car, and then in fact, your catchphrase on the website is like, "Let your car make your money when you're sleeping."
Yes. Exactly.
So. This means then that all the risk is on you in terms of ownership. For me, it's just to make the money as the driver.
As Bingo, we have driver financing that comes through different sources. It could be the Airbnb model, so it's a local person that's doing it, or across the sea. It could be a local bank, tier one, or it could be other asset finance partners that we're talking to. With the data, we hopefully mitigate the risk and make it a stronger opportunity for them, so they offer lower rates and they get more drivers on board. The whole idea behind that is to make the driver more money. Right now, they work 12, 14-hour days, and some days they break even. That's it. They don't make any money after working so hard. We want to offer them the opportunity to, even if they make now on a good day 1,000 or 2,000 shillings, we want to double or triple that. And we have, part of the data is that we understand when they're working. A typical ride-hail taxi driver in a 12-hour day actually is only productive 6 hours a day, because there's slow time, there's hot time and high time and low time. They also are parking, maybe eating or using the restroom, and so on and so forth. So we can help optimize that. So we have, part of our program is called income optimization. And so we're working with local supermarkets where we may be putting charging. So the driver can go there for the charging. They can use the washroom. We'll have a loyalty points program where they can use some of the points to buy maybe food or water where they're at the local supermarket.
The reward scheme, the loyalty scheme, will you be partnering with these supermarkets that if our drivers come in, then you can do whatever? Because actually what happens is that sometimes I've been on the road as a driver and you don't have cash.
Right.
But then I could just go tap a card or, just present a code or something, and then I'm able to shop.
Correct.
And go home not empty-handed.
Back to the income optimization. What these supermarkets are also interested in delivery. So our car allows, because it's bigger than a boda bike, where you can maybe carry one bag. The cars, you can fold down the rear seats, which you'll see, and you can maybe deliver 5 or 6 households at once. And that's during the downtime. So let's say the hot time for a ride hail is from 7 a.m. to 11 a.m., but 11 to 3 p.m. is very slow. And then it picks up. Well, you could be doing delivery, especially if you're charging at a supermarket. They can enlist you to make 5 or 6 deliveries and maybe 500 shillings per delivery. Wow, all of a sudden you're making that additional money. So that's part of our program, is to really allow them to earn more money, bring more money home.
We do know that the Chinese vehicles that you probably may not necessarily be competing with come in fully built for the longest time. But now they are starting to locally assemble. Depending on how this turns out, are you thinking of doing local assembly? Because also that could knock off some of that extra price or that extra cost because you did something locally,
Absolutely. In fact, it's on our radar. We're going to be meeting with some of the assembly folks and talk to them, probably visit their facilities. But it's probably closer on the horizon than further away to do that. That'll help on the tariffs and taxes. It'll also help for workforce development, bringing local jobs here. So definitely.
Who are the partners you work with in China? Is it brands that we know, or is it just...
Our contract manufacturer there is Geely, which is, I think, number 2 or number 3 in the world.
Yes.
And so they're the ones that are contracting. They're using our parts because we've tooled all our parts. They're using our design. So literally they're just assembling for us. So it's easy for us to take that assembly and bring it here as well.
I think you're in a good place then, because Geely is a known brand.
Yep.
And their vehicles are quality. So when you're telling them, just assemble this for us, of course, it's going to be a good deal. So thank you very much, Christian. China has become the world's leading producer of electric vehicles, batteries, and it is dominating most of the EV supply chains. This conversation highlights how that expertise is increasingly shaping Africa's transportation future. Although the Bingo E2 is conceived in the US, it is engineered and manufactured in China with Chinese supply chain supporting the vehicle first arriving in Kenya as fully built import before transitioning towards semi-knockdown and eventually completely knocked down local assembly. Whether Bingo succeeds will depend on more than pricing. Its strategy focuses on solving the operational challenges facing ride-hailing drivers through long driving range, battery swapping, fast charging, connected vehicle technology, financing partnerships, and service infrastructure. If you found this discussion useful, subscribe for more reporting on Chinese electric vehicles in Africa, China's automotive investment across the continent, battery manufacturing, charging infrastructure, local assembly, and the businesses shaping Africa's electric mobility translation. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again in the next episode of the Africa EV Show.